After a brief correspondence with a friend, I decided to buy a couple of new dresses for the summer. Typing online dress store into the search engine, I quickly picked a site that seemed popular in the US. The first dress I liked was lightweight, made of cotton, with a bright floral print. Hitting add to cart, I felt pleased with my choice. When I decided to go to the cart and place the order, I found that the dress had disappeared. In its place was a black dress that I definitely hadn't chosen. At first, I thought it was just a glitch on the site, but I became anxious when the same thing happened with 3 other items. Then, I received an email with no return address. Opening it, I saw a photograph of my house, seemingly taken just a few hours earlier. Beneath the photo was a message.
"We know what you want to buy. We're always close."
I was terrified. Who could be watching me? And how did they know my address? Every evening, as I returned home, I felt like someone was watching me from the shadows. One evening, returning from work, I noticed a dark car parked on the opposite side of the street from my house. As I approached my house, the car's headlights would turn on and would drive away. This happened for several days in a row. One night, awakened by some noise, I looked out the window and saw a shadowy figure slipping along the side of my house. On my porch, I found a left-behind photo of my house in the morning with a strange notation on the back.
"Don't stray too far."
I decided to install security cameras around my home. A few days later, I managed to see the face of the person who had been watching me. It was my ex-boyfriend. He seemed anxious and kept glancing around as if looking for something. I contacted the police. They began an investigation, and within a week, it turned out the owner of the website was my ex-boyfriend, whom I had broken up with in a fight several years ago. He had created the site specifically to stalk me and take revenge because I had left him. The police arrested him, and he confessed to his crimes. It turned out he had been tracking me for several years, gathering information about my interests, friends, and whereabouts. This incident was a real shock to me. Now, I always check the security of the sites I shop on and never share personal information online. That Sunday, I decided to head to the local supermarket to get groceries for the week. I enjoyed the quiet and peace of the early store hours, picking up items and adding them to my cart. Suddenly, my smartphone began to vibrate, signaling an incoming call. The screen displayed an unknown number. Strange, I thought, answering the call. On the other end was a whisper. "Leave the cart and go." I felt uneasy. "Who is this?" I inquired, but there was no answer. Only the deep whisper repeated, and the call was cut off. Looking around, I tried to discern if any of the store's patrons might be playing this eerie prank on me. That's when I spotted a man in a dark jacket standing behind the canned goods aisle, seemingly watching me. Our eyes met for a split second, and he quickly looked away as if he was searching for something on the shelves. I decided to approach this individual to find out what was going on, but by the time I reached the aisle, he was no longer there. My heart raced, and it became clear this was no joke. Leaving the store, I saw the same man across the parking lot, conversing with another stranger. Both wore masks on their faces and quickly departed in a black SUV. Arriving home, I found a box on my doorstep. Inside was a note. "You made the right choice." It turned out that there had been a robbery at the supermarket that day, and the gang of thieves was trying to deter potential witnesses. Had I stayed, I might have become their next victim. Ever since, I've always been vigilant about my surroundings and never ignored my intuition. I worked as a manager at one of the major supermarkets in the suburbs of Chicago. The evening crept up unnoticed, and I quickly surveyed the shelves, preparing to close the store. The silence of the store was only interrupted by the hum of the refrigerators. My smartphone vibrated an incoming call from an unknown number. Hesitating for a moment, I picked up.
Don't try to leave the store. Stay where you are.
A male voice whispered on the other end. Stunned, I looked around, hoping to see someone familiar or at least understand what was happening. Who are you? I demanded. Only silence. Then,
You'll find out. Just stay.
I felt uneasy. I rushed to the main exit, but the doors were shut. I pulled the handle, but to no avail. My heart raced as I ran to the back exit, but it was also locked. The feeling of being trapped grew stronger. Who are you? What do you want from me? I screamed. The response was just a deep silence. Then, a whisper echoed as if it was coming from all directions at once.
You shouldn't have stayed here.
Realizing I was trapped with someone who seemed to revel in my fear, I began to slowly move towards the storage room, looking for another exit or at least a place to hide. My heart pounded wildly. I could hear quiet footsteps behind me. Every time I turned around, there was no one there. Reaching the storage room, I spotted an old metal door. I tried to open it, but it was locked. Desperately pulling the handle, I prayed for a miracle. Out of the shadows emerged a man in a mask. He moved slowly towards me. What do you want from me? I cried out, trying to stay on my feet.
You just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He hissed. Suddenly, my phone rang. The man froze. I immediately answered. It was my friend from the police. Are you okay? We got a strange call about your store. She had tracked my location and dispatched a patrol. The sirens started to grow louder and louder, and the man panicked and ran off, disappearing into the shadows. The police arrived within minutes, and I was safe. Although the man was never found, I never stayed in the store alone after closing again.